Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Allied HomeQuest, Complete Connection to the Community and Real Estate. I'm Mary Camuso, Realtor with eXp Realty, and today we have the pleasure of getting to know Gordon Duncan.
Hey everybody.
The CEO and Chairman of Church Training Partners and the owner of Capitalize Marketing and Consulting. Gordon has a very diverse background, which includes teaching, coaching, being a pastor.
A lot of my resume's full. I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe it's a commitment problem.
Well, all of which has helped him develop a very special skill set. He's a great way with words, and he is very intent with his listening to his clients, and he gets really at the heart of creating change in others, which makes him a great consultant.
I'm trying.
And his clients praise him for the change that he's created in their lives. So I'm excited to get to know more about you, Gordon. So let's dive in.
This means a lot. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks.
So let's talk about you. How long have you lived in the Fredericksburg area?
We moved here January 2013, so we're getting ready to have our 10-year anniversary.
Oh,
and
nice.
I lived my whole life in North Carolina up until this point.
Okay.
But we absolutely love it. I'm married and have 3 daughters, and we've all loved it ever since we got here. It was an easy transition.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What part of North Carolina?
Well, we came from outside of Raleigh. I was living in a little community called Garner, which is a suburb of Raleigh.
Oh,
but I
okay.
grew up in Smithfield, which is right there on I-95. I went to school at East Carolina, taught high school in Rocky Mount. So a lot of that was up and down sort of the I-95 corridor. But we lived in Raleigh for a good long time. Absolutely loved it before we came up here.
Raleigh's pretty nice.
It is. It's
Gardner's
wonderful.
nice too. All of
It is. It's a cute little community. It really is.
So you mentioned that you were a pastor and you planted churches.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that take you?
Oh, wow. Well, it took me where I didn't want to go initially. Amy and I, my wife Amy, we've been married 26 years, and we are both preacher's kids. And so that's not necessarily an easy life. I mean, we had great parents, but when we got married, we swore we were never going to do anything ministry related. I didn't swear off the lottery or something like that. I swore. And so you can imagine what happens with that. So we got married in 96. And by 99, I was in seminary. I had a great mentor, and he just kind of walked me through it. So I graduated seminary in 05, planted the first church outside of Raleigh, and then planted the second one here in Fredericksburg in 2013.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you have roots in Fredericksburg beyond moving here.
Well, yeah, it's interesting how we got here. My buddy Leonard, we were both on staff in Raleigh when we were doing seminary training. And once our mentor moved away, Leonard moved up to Stafford to start a church. And then a couple of years later, he reached out to me, and I was initially very resistant and didn't want to do it at all. But he played a large part in bringing me up here to plant the church.
Very cool.
Yeah, but I'm glad we did. There's zero regrets in that. It's been wonderful.
Do you still have that connection with Leonard today?
Oh, he's my best friend in the world.
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
We've been through a lot. We've been friends now 23 years, and just him and his family, love him to death. They mean a lot to us.
That's awesome. It's cool. It's always nice to have those long-term
It's
friendships.
nice. It's nice. It's the kind of friendship, if you don't talk for 2 weeks or something, it's fine. Then you just slide right into it when you get together. And so pastors and pastor couples, when they have that, there's a level of intimacy you can have, because if you're going through something and you're a pastor, you can't always go into depth with it with the people you're leading. So it's always nice to have another pastor and family who know what you're going through. So you can get together and laugh and cry or get the wisdom you need. And Leonard's been that for us. I mean, our mentor is the same way to us. So we've just kind of continued it on.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I love that. So can you tell me what your favorite part of Fredericksburg is?
Oh, favorite part? Probably downtown. I'm a coffee lover, and so we got great coffee shops down there. I'm down there a good bit. When Amy and I think about going out to eat, I mean, we have great restaurants everywhere, but we're often going to head downtown and go to Orfino or someplace like that. So if I think about Fredericksburg in general, I typically think downtown. I mean, I love the stuff at Central Park and other places like that, but I'm sure it's downtown, and we've just made amazing friends through all that. So,
yeah.
The town specific downtown, but my friends obviously. So.
Well, the charm of the downtown area is like no other. So
it is wonderful. Yeah, it is, and it's good to see it continues to grow and new places coming in. Anytime we hear there's a new restaurant, we get excited.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I heard there's like a new Jamaican drive-through place.
No, I haven't tried that yet.
It's over by the Cowboy Jacks. I don't know.
Okay, I'll have to try that.
Yeah. And speaking of coffee, let's dip into that. I know that you have something that you're doing involving coffee.
So we just launched our own line of coffee called Cap. So my company is Capitalized Marketing, and the coffee is called Capitalized Coffee. And some folks go, what's the connection there? There's a couple of things. So part of my story is I'm an epilepsy fighter. And so as an epilepsy fighter, brain health is amazingly important to me. So that comes down to everything from what I eat, to how much water I drink, but since I drink a lot of coffee, I began to think, well, is coffee healthy? Well, too much caffeine obviously is not healthy, but there was a study that mentioned that organic, mildew-free dark roast coffee was sort of the formula for optimal brain health. Well, I worked with a roaster, and we launched Capitalized Coffee, and it's always organic, mildew-free dark roast. And so that my goal is in the next 2 years is to create 5 brain healthy products to just serve that community like myself and others. And that's sort of a legacy business. If my daughters want it one day, it's theirs. So right now we're building up Capitalized Coffee. And then as that grows, when it gets to a certain benchmark that we set, we'll launch a second brain healthy product.
Oh, that's cool.
But it works with, Capitalize, we always talk about capitalizing your best, bringing out your best. So it works in terms of same kind of thing for coffee. We want it to be what's best for you brain-wise.
That's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's good to be conscious of your brain.
My epilepsy was caused by brain damage, left frontal lobe.
Okay.
And I've got it. I don't get another one. I've got to keep it healthy. So I know on days where I don't hydrate enough or I don't get enough sleep, I get a little bit of brain fog. And so it's just really important for me to always keep that in front of me and to keep my brain healthy.
Yeah, definitely. So could you tell our viewers where we could find your coffee?
If you just go to capitalizedcoffee.com, that's where it is. We're only selling it online right now.
Okay.
We launched with Honduras, which is a little bit of a milder dark roast.
Okay.
But if I'm not mistaken, by the time this launches, you'll be able to order a Nicaraguan as well.
Okay,
and so
cool.
We'll eventually launch more and more.
Do you think you'll get a Colombian?
I'm sure we will. Yep. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure it's fresh. So we're only launching roast in a manner in which we can fulfill the orders and keep it fresh. But yes, we will.
Very
we will.
cool.
That's very much the goal. So it's been a fun endeavor. And I love starting new things. And so I'd like to put more promotion behind it, which that's one of our plans for 2023.
Very cool. Well,
Yeah,
I can't wait to see where the coffee business
I know, it's
takes
fun.
you.
It's fun.
Awesome. Besides the coffee business and some of these other things that you've already touched on, is there something else that many folks don't know about you?
So that was a great question. You mentioned that to me, and what's something people don't know about me? And since I spend so much time online, I thought, what story have I not told? So this has got nothing to do with business or anything.
Okay.
I can't skip rope.
No?
I know, see? I'm a marathon runner, I'm a cyclist, all those things. I can't skip rope. And so there's been multiple years where I thought, okay, this is the year I'm going to skip rope. And so I don't know, maybe 2023 is it. I don't know what it is. I never learned as a kid. I don't know how to skip rope. So that's something I cannot do. So maybe I need to put that on my list for 2023. It's great exercise.
We're going to stay following you just so we can see you
I'll do it.
that.
I'll keep track of it online to show my skip roping journey.
Yeah. I love it.
But I can't
Please
do
do keep us.
It's very awkward when you see me do it.
Yeah? You never had like one of those like skip-o things, where it's like goes around and you jump?
I love the skip boat. No, I never did. I was, I rode bikes a lot as a kid. I wasn't very big, so I wasn't a football, basketball player. In college, I worked at summer camps a lot, so things like ultimate frisbee became more of a sport that worked for me. And then loved basketball, but just wasn't very good at it. And then in my early 30s, I picked up mountain biking.
Okay.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But the challenge with mountain biking is it's only a daylight sport. And so with the busy schedule, I like to exercise in the morning. It's not something you can really do. So we went on vacation, back in 2009, and everybody's asleep, and I don't have my mountain bike, so I just decided to go for a run. And immediately fell in love with it. Just came back, told Amy, I'm going to run a marathon. And like I knew anything about it. But it really just took. So I've been running now for 13 years and just absolutely passionate about it. I can go out at 4:30 in the morning, get my run in, and doesn't really interrupt with anybody anymore.
That's awesome.
I still love cycling. Don't get to do it as much, but no, jumping rope never fit in there. It's great exercise. It'd be wonderful for me to add it in.
Yeah.
Do you jump rope?
I have. I have done it. It's not like something that I go out of my way to do. It's probably been years since the last time I jumped rope, but.
Gotcha.
So you had a goal to run a marathon. Did you end up doing that?
Yeah, I've run a bunch of marathons. I absolutely love. In fact, this is being recorded on Thursday, and on Saturday I'm running the Richmond Marathon. I run that every year for my birthday.
Oh, very cool.
And
it is your birthday week. What day is your birthday?
So my birthday is 11/11 on Veterans Day. So when recording this, that's tomorrow. And so I usually run a couple of marathons a year, but I run Richmond almost every single year because it's on my birthday weekend. And it's just a celebration. So it's also a Boston qualifying race. So I always run Richmond with the goals of qualifying for Boston and running the Boston Marathon.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, happy early birthday.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And best of luck to you. I have faith that you'll get there.
Appreciate it. It's going to be a little warm, but we'll be fine. So I finally ran Boston last year, and it took a lot of years to get there. So that's always in front of me to keep qualifying and run it. But that was a special day. Do
you think you'll do it again if you qualify?
Oh, yeah. The first time I ran Boston, I was not healthy. I'd had an injury. I had a stress fracture. So I enjoyed the experience, but I didn't run Boston well.
Okay.
And so my goal is to qualify, and then I want to run it well. I want to run it just feeling great, knowing that the training has gone well. So that's my goal. So what's this, 2022, the way the system works, if I qualify this weekend, that will actually be the 2024 Boston Marathon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they skip a year, or?
No, excuse me, Boston's run in the March-April area, and so it's not enough time for the qualifications, because if I qualify now, most people aren't going to turn over and run another marathon in 3 or 4 months.
I see. Very cool.
Yeah, so it's always pushed
Why
out.
not? I mean, come on.
I've done it. It's not necessarily fun.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot of strain on your body and a lot of training and exertion.
It takes a lot of time, but I love it. I really do.
That's awesome. Good for you. You're doing so many awesome things. So let's dip into your why. What motivates you? What is at the heart of what drives you to do what you do?
It's a great question. Someone asked me this question last week. I'm glad you're asking it again. Because that's something I ask my coaching clients to work through, and I think as you get older, your why becomes a bit more refined. So this is a bit of a longer story. I hope we have time. So in 6th grade, I was bullied a lot. I was a tiny kid. I really was. And so the last day of 6th grade, the recess bell rings, and we're all going inside. And this much larger student came up behind me and drove me into the ground and knocked me unconscious. Well, when I woke up, the entire playground was empty.
Oh my goodness.
I had been missed. The teacher, everybody else. And so I just woke up from being unconscious on the ground. So I kind of groggily went to the office and just called my parents to come get me. So that, among many other concussions and broken noses, played a part in my epilepsy. So I think that made me a bit of an angry kid. It made me, I'm going to prove myself kind of person. And that played itself out through high school and college and even my early career. I felt like I had this thing to prove. And, that served me well to a certain extent. I was able to accomplish some things and do things I might not have done. But I think in maturity, I began to realize I'm defining myself against something. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to constantly define myself against something. So then what do you do? If you're not going to define yourself against something, what are you going to do? And there's a parable in the Bible that really plays a lot in why we do what we do, what the company does, and it's called the parable of the talents or the parable of the managers. And just briefly, there's the story of a landowner who gives 3 different managers some money to manage.
Yeah.
And goes away. And when he returns, one manager doubled the investment, and one manager doubled the investment, and one manager hid the investment. And the one who hid it is actually punished. He's like, I'm scared of you. I didn't want to lose your money. That's a real brief example of that story, telling of that story.
Right.
But the principle behind it is that I believe that everyone has God-given gifts.
Yeah.
And our job, our responsibility is to manage them, to steward them well. For me, that's a desire to honor God with it. And so as I began to realize I've been defining myself against things so long, I began to think, well, wait a minute, I've been gifted as a teacher and a coach, investing in people's lives. That's what I can do to honor that gift and to grow it.
That's awesome.
And so that's really what I want to do now. I see businesses and individuals that want to grow their business or want to grow in a specific area of their life. And so now I do my best to work with them and help them accomplish those goals and grow from there. So our motto is capitalize your best. And that's actually what that's talking about, is you have a gift and a best, and we want to see you grow it. And that's the idea behind the company and sort of the overarching vision. So I went from being an angry kid, and I'm not saying, everybody deals with anger, but I went from defining myself against something to trying to do what I thought was just living out the gift that I was given.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. I don't know if I always had a good understanding of that, but it's been a joy in the last few years to nail that down.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Thanks.
It's awesome. It's very cool to see how you're not just creating that growth for yourself, but for others. I'm trying.
It's you've got to start a business and grow it, and you've got to make a living and all those things. But doing it to help others is obviously for me, it feels like the best way to do it.
Very rewarding.
It is.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So let's chat a little bit about Capitalize Marketing and Consulting.
Yeah.
You've kind of touched on that in your why. It was established in 2020, right?
2020. Well, it was technically established in 2018, and I had a business partner. And I was a full-time pastor at that time, and it was sort of I hate to say it, a side gig. We were both pastors and trying to earn some extra money. And so I approached from marketing and consulting, and he approached it from a promotional type background.
Okay.
And we partnered together for 2 years. But he had an opportunity to leave the state and go into another career, which was wonderful. And so we separated well, and so I took over the company 100%. And 2020 that you mentioned is the year that I left full-time ministry and went full-time into marketing. So in the midst of the whole pandemic and all that stuff, we made that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good time to maybe leap. It was either you're going to grow or,
It was. We were like everyone else, locked down at home, and I was doing Bible studies via video and recording the services via video. But no matter what, there was more time, and it gave me a chance to examine the business. We actually renamed it and rebranded it, and at the same time, my church, leadership-wise and financially, was in a healthy place. And the question was, well, when does one leave a church? And I'm a good church planter. I'm a better church planter than I was the middle 7 years. So my wife and I sat down and it was like, now's the time. We could wait a year, but maybe we aren't in a good place financially, or maybe we don't have the same leadership. We're not leaving over conflict. We're leaving peacefully. So we let people know, and people thought we were crazy and gave us a chance to back out, but we were committed to doing what we're doing. And it was 100% the right decision. We don't doubt it. We don't doubt the decision one bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's definitely a transition, being from full-time minister to full-time marketing and coaching.
Yeah, I can imagine. There's some shifts in some things that you're doing.
Shifts in identity. There's definitely some similarities in terms of counseling and leadership and teaching.
Right.
But there's definitely an identity shift when for 20 years people ask you what you do and you're like, I'm a pastor. Then all of a sudden you have to pause and what am I? So it's a bit of a change.
Yeah. So do you want to go into a little bit about the services that you offer so that everybody can know the full spectrum of where you're at?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So we help people capitalize their best. And we do that really in two ways. We're a full-scale marketing company, which means we can offer anything in that realm, providing social media, creating marketing campaigns, websites, graphics. We do everything but text marketing. It's just one of those things we don't do. So some folks come to us just for those services. Like, will you do my social media, or will you...
So pretty much managing the social...
We do management for multiple companies.
Okay.
We build websites. We do videography, all of those things. But on the other side, we're coaching and consulting. So we have folks who will ask me to do marketing coaching. Realtors or brokerages will ask me to come in once a month and teach their team on how to do their individual marketing, or maybe creating approaches or updating them on algorithms and those kind of things. But then we also are coaches, and we just created really a signature program. It's called Capitalize Your Best, and it's a hybrid online and in-person coaching program.
Okay.
So we have small businesses going through it to help them create their own campaigns. We have coaches going through it to create their own online coaching programs, basically just replicate what we've done, but make it specific. And then we've had authors who've created courses out of it.
Oh, very cool.
So it's been a lot of fun. That's been really where a lot of our efforts went into this year, was to create that program and then market it. So someone will come to us, and our question is not immediately do this, because they may need marketing help, or actually they might be equipped to do it if they had the training. So then the question for us is, do you do training in person, or could you do our program? And so that's really where we've gone as Capitalize. It's been a blast to kind of see it evolve since where we were 2 years ago. Very different than where we started.
Very cool.
Yeah.
When someone does your hybrid version, do they still get like limited access to have like a one-on-one or contact with you?
It's a great question. I mean, the details are there's 23 videos divided into 4 modules.
Okay.
And so, no video is longer than 15 or 16 minutes. So if you'll do all the videos for module 1, I think there's 6 or 7. And then you'll do the homework, and then you get a personal coaching session.
Okay.
So I always offer at least 4 coaching sessions among the 23. And then folks have done this program in 3 or 6 months. Really, it's self-paced, depending upon how much time you have. Most folks are choosing the 6 months model, but some folks have got the deep dive. So you always get at least 4 coaching sessions to go along with it. So we want to make sure it's not completely impersonal. If it's an only online system, people never finish. I mean, I've done that. I've paid thousands of dollars for a coaching program, and I don't get to the end because there's not anything there.
Any kind of accountability.
Not accountability. There's not feedback, and so I greatly enjoy the coaching that goes along with that. I've got a young entrepreneur right now, and she's launching this incredible program. I'm just so excited about it. She's not ready to launch yet, but she's close, and we're kind of building, and cool. And then we've coached, what would look like to be our competitors. I don't care. It's fine. Take what I'm doing and just go do exactly the same thing. It's not going to bother me.
Yeah.
Just make it yours.
Yeah, I think that there's an abundance, right?
Certainly.
So, and that's like a very abundant mindset. Like if I share my knowledge and we grow together, then as a community we rise. Very
much so. It's not like there's only there's not a finite amount of money in the country. I mean, apparently.
And you're doing worldwide, right? Don't you have some?
I've got my furthest client is Sweden.
Okay.
And then we're across the country. And so one of the things the program's enabled me to do, as much as I love Fredericksburg, it's enabled me to expand beyond this community.
Which is great. I mean, because there's no boundary.
None whatsoever. And so just language. And so if I had to, I'd get an interpreter. I think we could figure that out. But yeah, Florida, Texas, Colorado, Sweden.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a blast.
Good for you.
Yeah, I get to know the folks really well. You create a relationship. You get to see their success. That's the fun thing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So we've kind of touched on a few things with Capitalize. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that maybe most people don't know? I'm going to touch on to that subject again.
About the company itself?
Yes.
Well, I think a couple of people do, but we also have a book publishing and consulting branch. We recently helped a realtor here in town. Her name's Sarah Hurst, and we helped her publish a children's book about adoption, which is a beautiful book. And so I published my first book in 2012, mm-hmm. which was just really a collection of blog articles. But then since I came out of the eye care industry, after that I wrote a book for the eye care industry, which sold really, really well. And so 2012 was sort of the beginning of the self-publishing wave. You can publish a book on Amazon fairly easily. Unfortunately, that industry also is full of people who are exploiting, and you'll spend thousands and thousands of dollars and never get close to making it back up. Well, that works really well with having graphic designers and marketing. So we have a publishing branch where we'll help people format their books, actually do the covers for them, get them onto Amazon, and get their books launched.
Oh, wow, that's
and
cool.
If they want help marketing, we can provide it, or we can train it. And so right now, I'm working with I've got a mastermind of about 25 authors, and we meet weekly, and that's a subscription model that they're part of it, and so then they're publishing, and it's a lot of fun. So I don't talk about that as much because the masterminds It's a private group,
Yeah.
but whenever we do get to help an author, we definitely make a mention of that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So one of my secret desires is to publish some children's books. So I might be coming to
It's
knock on your door with that.
that'll be fantastic. And like I said, our goal is to make sure people have that opportunity without just being exploited by the industry.
Yeah.
Like on a quick side note, most people who go, there are companies that help you self-publish, but they usually require you to buy a certain number of your own books. And they'll say, hey, this is for promotional purposes. Well, you're going to buy a flat of 500 copies.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost you $4,000. And then for the rest of your life, you're going to have this big stack of books in your garage. You don't have to do that. And so that's one of the things that we help authors do is to get published. And then it's up to them how many author copies they want. You have control of that. You don't have to go through a company to do that.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely going to be
All right, we got to talk.
Children's
Children's books are in need.
Yeah, it's been on the bucket list, and I feel like I want to do it while my children are still small, so
Very
that
much
they
so.
could enjoy the books that I write. And I have probably a list of quite a few titles of things that I want to do.
Well, let me ask you, how many children do you have?
I have 2.
Wonderful. Boy, girl? What do you have?
One of each.
Uh-huh.
My son is 8 and my daughter's 5.
Oh, those are fun ages.
Yeah.
So, that's a blast.
They're busy.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
But I like it because they keep me moving and on my toes. And
Very much so. Very much so.
There's no greater joy than being a parent.
It's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, man. It really is.
So let's get back to you.
Okay.
Can you tell me a little bit about your role as the CEO and chairman of the Church Training Partners?
Yeah, so Church Training Training Partners was born out of a couple of things. I planted 2 churches, so 20 years of ministry, but 15 years of active lead role. And being a pastor or a ministry leader is incredibly lonely. It just is. And there's not often very practical training for things like leadership, fundraising, organization, whatever the case may be. The system I came out of emphasized an academic approach. So you had to have a master's degree, you had to study Greek, Hebrew, and I valued all of that. But I didn't get much in terms of how do you organize a church well, how to be an effective leader. In addition, a lot of pastors are not making a lot of money. If there's 7.5% inflation, most pastors are not getting the 7.5% raise. And so they need to find a way to make additional income. Well, as a church planter, I always had a second job, especially at the beginning, and that's where coaching and consulting came from. So Church Training Partners takes all those problems and offers 2 things. We have a program that helps churches organize. And so we're not talking about elders and deacons. We're talking about the practical, how do you organize this thing so it doesn't go chaotic. And so we have a program to help churches with that. But then I also help pastors create online coaching programs from the materials they already have. And cool. So it enables them to have an extra source of income. So that's the emphasis of Church Training Partners. A fun note, when Capitalize started, it was called Concept to Profit. Very cumbersome. And I abbreviate everything, so it was CTP. But people got it wrong over the time. CTP, CPT, PCP, like no one could remember what it was. But we had this logo I liked. Well, we rebranded to Capitalize.
Yeah.
So that's where Church Training Partners came from. I just kept the CTP logo and went from Concept to Profit to Church Training Partners.
Okay.
And just rebranded it, recolored it a little bit. So that's where I sat down and figured out the name of the company. But it gives me a lot of joy. I know that when churches are, struggling for a cohesive organization to be able to help them do that and avoid some of the mistakes I made, because I made tons. But then also, pastors have leadership wisdom. They have tons of other wisdom. Yeah. Helping a pastor create a program affordably so that then maybe they can have an extra source of income without taking them away from their first call to be a pastor. I couldn't have planted the 2 churches I planted without having that opportunity to do something outside the church. So I want to make that a little bit easier for pastors or ministry leaders.
I love that.
Yeah. So I'll keep talking. So there's a story I got to tell you. So when you're starting a church and someone says, "I love kids," you go, "Well, you're in charge of the nursery." It's the way it feels, right? And they might be passionate about that, but they're going to get burned out very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So, and I've done that. I've burned out every church, every nursery person ever. I've burned them all out except
Well, that's a lie,
except for one, I think. And because that's not my forte, is organizing nurseries. So I would give them complete freedom, but freedom isn't leadership. And so that's one of the reasons I created the system.
Okay.
Because people just leave. They're exhausted. They leave. They're like, I've gone from working in the nursery. I need someone to take care of my kids or something like that. And there's a lot of heartbreak. People you love leave for that reason. It's not even necessarily a conflict.
Yeah.
And so that was part of it. I was like, basically everything I've done in my life, I was like, what problem did I have? If I can find a way to solve it, then I can find a way to serve others out of it.
Nice. I like that.
So trying.
Where there's a problem, there's a solution.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully
I feel like most of the time there is.
Most of the time there is.
You get that 1% that's like,
that's exactly
maybe
right.
there's not.
There's a great book called Everything is Figure-Outable. And most everything is figure-outable.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
So let's dip into can you give me 2 of your personal goals?
2 of my personal goals.
For maybe the next 2023.
For 2023.
Aside
from jumping rope, so you beat me on that. So I am presently working through what my goals are going to be. So I'll talk about what some of them might be.
Okay.
I'm passionate about goal setting. The book Atomic Habits will tell you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems.
Yeah.
So whenever I set a goal, then I've got to how am I going to do that? So running has definitely taught me that, to create a system to hit the goal. One of the things I'm considering is to become a licensed yogi.
Yeah.
So 4 years ago, I completely tore my calf muscle training for a marathon. 100% my fault. I didn't stretch. I didn't do anything I needed to do. I've been sitting for 4 hours, changed clothes, went running up a hill, and just one of the worst pains I've ever had in my entire life. Well,
it's not funny, but
it's terrible. Yeah, it is kind of funny because I had to limp home for like an hour, for like a mile and a half. But and that was when I was introduced to stretching, yoga. I had a great massage therapist, chiropractor. Everything was out of whack. And 5 weeks after the tear, I ran the marathon. I didn't run it well, but I did finish it.
Wow.
Well, since then, I've incorporated stretching and yoga into an almost daily practice for myself. And so like right now, I'm nursing a bit of a calf injury, but I know that my stretching and my yoga is part of it. So part of my long-range goals for Capitalize is to move beyond just a Capitalize Your Best business approach, but looking at maybe a Capitalize Your Best life coaching program. Well, I've been through Dave Ramsey training, I've been through the financial training, John Maxwell leadership, but I don't have, despite the marathon running, I don't have any sort of credentialing in any area physically. And so really thinking about next year investing in that. It would mean I would have to step back from some of the running, which is very hard for me because I just love running.
Yeah.
But I'm pursuing, what would it look like next year for me to do that? So tomorrow I turn 52, so there's not a lot of yoga programs specifically for guys over 50. That would maybe be my target niche. So that's one of the goals I'm thinking about. Another is for our Capitalize Your Best coaching program. I'm considering offering that as a certification for next year. So maybe someone wants to be a coach, but they don't want to create their own program.
Yeah.
Looking into offering a certification program where you can become a Capitalize Your Best coach.
Okay.
So you would use my curriculum, you would use our work, and coach people through that.
That sounds awesome.
So, I've seen that replicated really well with other programs that are effective. You can then become a coach in that line.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, personally, I want to get more time away with my wife, Amy, and my daughters are 20, 18, and 16. So they don't need us over the top of them. And I would say, despite the newfound freedom I have found in doing this, most of that freedom has been Amy and I for the kids, which was my initial push. I needed to spend more time with my kids, but I think next year I've got to take more time away with Amy. Yeah. And then with that, I've got some financial goals and things I want for the business.
Very cool.
Take on some new employees so that I'm doing less of some of the practical work.
Yeah, the things that you could step away from.
Yeah, doing what only I can do so other people can do the things I'm not good at.
So is there a need that your business has?
That's a great question. I mean, right now I have a great graphics and website designer. I've got those squared away. I do have some virtual assistants who do some of the some of the posting, some of the coordinating for my schedule. I think the bigger question is I've got to figure out what's going to free me up to create these courses. So if I'm going to do a Capitalize Your Best Life course, that takes a lot of time, and you've got the videos to record and all of those things. So I've got to figure out in the next month or so what is the next thing for me to give away. Because once you give something away, then your marketing changes. People need to know I'm not the one doing that. My team does it.
Yeah.
So anytime I replace myself in something, I then have to change how I present to the client. And then you've got to have people trustworthy because you're giving you're giving control away.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that working on. So I don't know necessarily what I'm going to hire next.
Yeah.
It may very well be taking some of the folks who are working part-time for me and giving them a full-time opportunity.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah. It's a lot of responsibility when you do that.
Yeah.
So.
It is a lot of responsibility, but it's the best way to grow, right? Because you can't grow without having somebody else come in and help you.
Yeah, if you don't bring in people, you're limited by the number of hours of the day.
Exactly.
And I do as well as I can maximizing those hours, but it's still finite.
Yeah.
It's still my brain.
And if you get sick or something, then it's just like.
That's exactly. And my brain requires sleep. That's part of my it's part of my care for my brain is to sleep.
I think all of our brains require sleep.
They really do. Yeah. When I was first fighting epilepsy, and the doctor asked me how much sleep I got, I proudly said, like 5.5 to 6 hours sleep.
Yeah.
And he looked me in the eye and he said, if you don't get 7 to 8 hours sleep, you're going to have a lobotomy.
Oh, wow.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah, that's very terrifying.
And so I know someone with my specific epilepsy condition who had that lobotomy, and he functions and does very well. But I don't want anyone to cut part of my brain out. Yeah. So I was better at that time of getting 8 hours sleep. I'm around 7 hours right now, typically on average.
Nice.
Yeah. But there's always the 6 hours too.
Yeah, don't go back to 6.
I know. You're right.
It's so tempting because you want to maximize your day, but
it is. Well, the thing is, I wake up at the same time every morning.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can control is what time do I go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wake up no matter what at the same time. I'm just kind of wired that way.
That's good. It's a good habit to have wired in.
I think so. I just got to get to bed. Yeah. That's the other side of it.
Yeah, to have the discipline to be like,
yes,
shut all things off.
Well, and then sometimes you're walking away from things that are happening, which are not as fun. So that's tough too.
It is tough. I was at an event last night and I was like, it's time for me to go to bed. It was only like 8:30, but I think I was
registered for that event and didn't show up. So yeah, I'm with you. I didn't make that one. So.
Yeah. So is there anything you'd like to add?
It's a great question. I do want to become more of next year an advocate for epilepsy awareness, and then just epilepsy prevention and care. So my epilepsy is not what's called grand mal. If I had a seizure, I don't fall on the floor. Mine's called partial complex.
Okay.
Which means I'm partially aware, and it's complex centered on a specific portion of my brain, which is my left frontal lobe. But still,
that's got to be tough to be partly aware.
It's terrifying. What it would look like is you and I would be in a conversation, and then I would either just pause and you'd be like, "Hey, you still there?" Or I might say a few things that don't make sense, or even mumble a little bit. And so before they were under control medically, I had them in the car. I had one. They were diagnosed initially because I had one preaching, and there was a doctor in the crowd, and he's like, "You just had a seizure." And so, so I want people. There's an awareness need.
Yeah.
About what epilepsy is. I was fortunate in that the neurologist who initially diagnosed me, once the meds had them under control, he went the next step. Because he knew I wanted to get back to. I had to take a 2-year break from running marathons. He took the next step and helped me nutrition-wise, and it transformed my brain. And so I just got to give him credit. I don't know if every doctor would have done that. They might have gotten me under control and kind of sent me on my way. So if you do struggle with epilepsy, or even other brain-related conditions, whether it be Alzheimer's or depression, whatever the case may be, your nutrition affects all of those things. So the brain hates sugar. Well, it eats it up, but hates it in terms of it's just not healthy. And so a heavy carb, heavy sugar based diet it does not help your brain in any way. So I want to move more into an advocate role, supporting things like the Epilepsy Foundation, but then also educating both generally, but then also people who might be struggling with brain conditions. I'd like to do more of that. So I can see that's where the coffee and the brain healthy products are going to serve. But then finding ways to become more of an advocate and an awareness, because their parents and folks who are struggling with massive epilepsy issues, massive number of, a dozen seizures a day. That's not uncommon. I don't have all the tools necessarily to help them with that. But would like to be an encourager in any way I could.
Yeah, bring some education and awareness, like you said.
Yeah, I think all in all, despite what it's been through, I've been very fortunate in my journey. There's a lot of ways it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, Gordon, it's been really nice chatting with you.
I think
that we could probably go on forever here, but we'll just break here.
Okay.
And if you all have any questions for Gordon, you can reach out to him directly, or if you have a referral for him, we all love referrals.
We do. Thank you. That'd be great. You can find me, just look for Gordon Duncan on every platform. You'll find me there somewhere.
I'll also include his contact information in the comments below.
Oh, thank you.
And if you could also reach out to me and I could connect you with Gordon if need be. So thanks so much for watching. I'm Mary Camuso, your friend and realtor of the Fredericksburg area, and we're featuring Gordon Duncan.
Thank you. It really means a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for being here with us today. Bye.
Bye, guys.